Have you ever felt invisible? As if you were erased from someone's life without explanation? As if your words, actions, and even your presence meant nothing? You review every interaction, try to understand where you went wrong, but all you find is emptiness, silence. And this silence, so heavy, hurts more than any criticism. It doesn't respond, it doesn't explain, it just consumes. But what do you do when you're hit by this cruel silence? Is there a way to transform this pain into something powerful? And that's exactly what you'll discover here. Does silence really mean that you have no value? Or are we just misinterpreting the absence of words? How can we deal with the pain of being ignored and use that suffering as a tool for self-discovery? The answer lies in the millennia-old teachings of the Stoic philosophers. The truth, as they taught, is not in what others do, but in how we choose to see things. This means that the suffering from indifference can be an opportunity for transformation. Let's explore this together. The Stoics, who lived over 2,000 years ago, faced situations of rejection, loss, and even the relentless silence of others. But instead of becoming victims of these emotions, they discovered something that most of us never realize. True suffering doesn't come from what others do, but from how we interpret it. The philosopher Epictetus, who was born a slave, said, "It's not the events that hurt us, but the judgments we make about them." Seneca, who was banished and betrayed by powerful friends, wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful emperor in the world, who faced betrayals within his own family, still managed to maintain his inner peace. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." If even these men, surrounded by losses, conflicts, and silence, found serenity, why couldn't you too? From these teachings is where we can learn to deal with the pain of indifference and silence. The first lesson we must understand is that silence is not rejection. It is, in fact, a mirror. When someone ignores you, your mind enters into a silent collapse. Every second without a response stretches into an eternity of questions. What did I do wrong? Why did she pull away from me? Am I not enough? Silence seems to eat away at your self-esteem, feeding these questions. But the reality is that the problem is not the absence of words, but the story you create about that absence. By interpreting silence as rejection, you are actually feeding your own insecurities, fears, and needs. Epictetus teaches us that what disturbs human beings is not the events themselves, but the view they take of them. So, if you stop for a moment and reflect, does this silence really mean you have no value? Or is it just reflecting your own uncertainties? Imagine you are like a vast oak tree with deep roots and an unshakable presence. For years, dozens of birds take shelter in its branches, but at some point, they leave. The oak, despite feeling the absence, does not chase after the birds. It doesn't beg for their return. It remains firm, because it knows its value isn't in who chooses to land there, but in its essence. The same applies to you. Don't interpret every departure as a personal rejection. Not all silence is hostile. Sometimes it's just space. Space for the other person to reorganize or for you to reconnect with yourself. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept everything that comes tied to the thread of reason and nature, and if it doesn't depend on you, don't judge it as good or bad." When someone ignores you, you have two paths to choose from. The first is to interpret the silence as an attack and destroy yourself from within. The second is to use this void as fertile ground for your growth. Silence doesn't reject you, it reveals you. And sometimes, what it reveals is that it's time to stop begging for answers and start building your own inner peace. Now, if you're enjoying these lessons of wisdom, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next lessons. Share this with someone who needs to hear these words today. Your journey of self-discovery is just beginning, And by sharing, you help spread this transformation, building self-esteem and emotional detachment. Now that we've started to understand how to interpret silence in a more constructive way, it's time to dive deeper into another essential lesson for emotional health: Stoic self-esteem. When our self-esteem depends on the approval of another person, we become slaves to others' judgments. Imagine you walk into a room full of people. If your mind is conditioned to seek approval, you will begin scanning the room. Has anyone noticed me? Are they judging me? Am I pleasing them? Now imagine entering that same room with a Stoic mindset. You know who you are. You know what you carry. You don't need to impress anyone. You move with confidence, speak clearly, and act with virtue. And that is enough. The Stoics teach us to liberate our self-esteem from the chains of others' judgments. If your peace depends on something you can't control, you will become a slave to others' opinions. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by crises while ruling the empire, wrote, "Perfect tranquility is when you stop trying to please others and start living according to reason." It's not about ignoring others, but about understanding that your essence and your value cannot be measured by others' acceptance. Emotional detachment is also an important lesson. The Stoics viewed attachment as a trap, not because they were indifferent, but because they knew that by trying to control things around us, we become trapped by them. Epictetus, who experienced many losses, reminds us, "Don't expect things to happen the way you want. Wish for them to happen the way they must, and your life will be calm." Final thoughts. Don't let indifference or silence define your value. You have the power to change the narrative and transform any pain into a drive for your growth. True strength lies in you, in how you choose to react and how you see yourself. And if someone moves away, let them go in peace, for your value does not diminish with the distance of the other. It grows with your proximity to yourself. Did you like this reflection? Then like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear these words today. Don't forget to activate the bell for more transformative content. We'll see you in the next video. Be well, stay strong, be stoic.